This is a really fun activity. It's actually very good as an exercise just to get your creative juices flowing, but also I like it because I can make origami papers or I can make background papers. Doreen's coming in. Great. I'm gonna just get everybody muted. There we are. Yay. It'll just take a second here. We'll get everybody in. So you can kind of see what we'll be up to. So what you'll need are, if you have markers, watercolors. In fact, I wanted to test out these new watercolors that I bought off of Amazon. I think I recommended it to some of you from in the watercolor class. So I tried them out this weekend. I really like them. They were pretty cheap. And then I also have this other set that I bought that was even cheaper. I also recommended those. Those are about $8 or $10, and this was $20 for the set. And I was surprised at how nice they turned out. So I'll be using these, but you can use markers, paint markers, regular Sharpies, anything you've got. You can also use your brushes. If you have some brushes you just want to play with. I've got brushes just to play. I've got all my brushes, and I'll just try different things. And this is mindful mark making, and it is a really good way to get your mindset towards creating. And you can do this, you don't have to be concentrating on anything, but mindfulness is really kind of concentration in a way. But you can do this while you're talking or on the phone. You couldn't do it when you're driving, obviously, but there's some things that you can make these beautiful marks, and then you can use them later on. You can also just you can do this in your journal also. If you have a journal, makes a great background. And I'll just kind of show you the little pages. These are done on rice paper, and I think some of us have done this before together or similar, making marks, and then you just keep making marks in layers, and then you get this great repetitive pattern without really there's no skill or anything really. I'm not trying to do patterns like in Zentangle you would do, but these come out really interesting, and they look like a surface design, and then it can be used in your collages. It can be used in cards. You can use it in a lot of things. So, and I'm even going to cut some of these down and make them into origami paper because it's foldable. So here's some color. I did this morning just playing. Since I thought my internet was down, I didn't know how I was going to share with you, but I'm glad it's up. Here's one I did with black sumi ink and some gold watercolor. And this is just very loose and free, but it still has some repatterning in it. Same with this one, it's a lot looser. But you can kind of see how fun these are going to be, and I'll turn them into things. And we've done these before where we've done stuff like this, but I wanted to show you the colorful way instead of just the black sumi ink, and just how this can be very playful and fun. So we'll get started. So like I mentioned, if you have some watercolors, markers, whatever you've got in your arsenal, and I'm going to do this on a couple. I'm going to start one on this sheet. This is a piece of rice paper. It's pretty thin, but it actually doesn't soak through. It's really interesting stuff. So like rice papers usually bleed, but that's fine too. You can have anything you want. You can have typing paper to do this, just regular paper. Watercolor paper, you could do this on watercolor paper, but then I don't find it's easy to convert it into anything, but it's still as an exercise, watercolor paper is fine. It will look beautiful if you're using watercolor paper in your watercolors. So I'm going to bring my camera out just a little bit. It's just on a little on the big side here. I'm just going to try to get it a little close or farther away. There we are, like that. Okay, yay. So I'm going to start the process. And really normally what I like to do is I definitely like to have music on. I don't have it on today because I couldn't stream until just a few moments ago. But if you have some music at home and you have some calming music that you really like, I think that would be a great thing to do. So I'm just going to try out this watercolor here. This is the Yarka watercolors that I recommended. Comes in these nice pans, and it even has a little paintbrush, which I thought was nice. I think I'll even try that. Why not? It's a really inexpensive, and it doesn't look like it's the fanciest brush, but I could still make marks with it. And that's what's nice about mark making. You can make marks with just about anything. You can make marks with the back of this brush. I mean, there's just so many things. So I'm going to start out, and I think it would be fun if you wanted to follow me, of course. I'm going to start by making kind of cloud shapes or something kind of roundish, but not perfectly formed. Not perfectly. I don't want anything to be perfect here. This is an 8.5 by 11, but you can go smaller if you wanted to do this. I'm just going to try some blue color. Oh, that's not blue. That's purple. That's funny. I thought that was blue. So this is really how interesting this. It's really pretty color. They're very nice colors. But what I'm doing is I'm mixing up a little bit of blue, but pale, not too bright. You don't want it really super heavy and saturated. I'm just putting some blue in my. If you just have markers, use a blue marker. If you just have even pencils, I mean, but something with paint would be kind of nice to have that option. So I'm just going to do repetitive patterns of a shape, and I'm just going to choose. Maybe I could choose clouds, raindrops, anything, but just something that just to get this feeling, this practice going. So I've never used this brush. It'd be interesting to see what kind of mark it makes. So I'm just going to try to make. Let's see if I can make a raindrop. Not easily, but I can. It's not the easiest. So I'm just going to put some raindrop shapes with this brush that I've never used all over my page in a repetitive fashion. Okay, so I've got my raindrops all on there. Now they're going to dry. It's going to take a while to dry, but I'm not going to worry about that too much. I could set this aside, but I think I'd like to work on it, but I'm going to just turn it around. I'm turning it in a different direction, so I'm not thinking about the raindrops anymore. I'm going to put this brush away. I really like that one. That's neat. Now I could do another, I could choose to do a marker, which I think it would be fun, is I have this marker here I want to try. I've never tried. I mean, I think I just want to see. Okay, so now it's time to make new marks. And I think I'd like to make circle shapes, but I don't really think I want to go, I don't know if I want to go into the raindrops or not, but I think I will. Just going to make circle shapes, but not perfect circles. I'm just going to make round, kind of maybe even spiral sort of shapes. And I'm just going to go kind of make wonky shapes wherever my raindrops were. So I've got that filled in, and I'm going to I had started with these little spirals, but I'm going to stop that. I'm going to turn my paper in this direction, so I'm not married to any orientation here. I'm just going to make marks now with something different. So I'm going to use a brush, a little bit bigger brush right now. I've got this little brush I don't use much. It's just a little oval wash brush. And I'm going to use the black, and I think that's black here in this paint that yep, that's black. Let me go ahead and just make sure I have plenty of black to work with. And I can just keep dipping into that. But I think what I'd like to do is maybe make some kind of stroke, and I'm going to go this way. So I'm just going to go kind of maybe just like a little 3-piece strokes here, just between my little spirals. So I've got plenty, I think, to work with here, and now I'm going to turn the paper this way. So now I'm back to the place that I'd started, so with my raindrop shapes coming downward. So now I'm going to do something else with a different marker. I'm actually going to take a brush and do some wide color areas, but I do have My problem is I have the black that's still, it's still drying, so I really can't do it yet. So what I could do is just take some area and just add some color. I think it would be fun to add maybe a gold, or I could do a green. Let's see, I think that green would be fun. This is more of an olive green, it looks like. Yep. So this is a nice, very nice transparent watercolors for the very inexpensive price. So that's good stuff. So now I see little areas that I'd like maybe to work with, and I'm just going to go real loose and free on hinging on my shoulder. I'm not going to hinge on my wrist. I'm going to use my shoulder as the pivot, and hopefully I don't smear everything because I've got still wet paint everywhere. But I'm just going to go in these little circles and give it a little wider kind of watercolor wash thing in my little circles here. So I've got my little patterns going, and I'm really liking this so far. I may leave it alone because I like it. I've got a mixture of brush strokes and some lines. What I could do is after it dries, because I need to wait, I could add some dots, and that would be a fun thing, but I'm going to do that on a different piece of paper because this needs to sit for a bit. What I mean when I say dots, I can actually take some old patterns. This one I finished today. You can kind of see I did some little stars and lines, and this one I think needs something like that. So, I mean, it's done, but I'm going to show you how you can just go back to your other ones that you had worked on. And in this one, I see I'd like to add, if I can, I'm going to add some white. I've got this white pen. It's never been used, so I need to pump it to get it started. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this, but I'm going to try. So I'm going to try to do, and I'll start on one end. I'll start up here. Wherever some blobs are, I'm going to just put a little star. So the stars are basically 6 points. I just make a line like an X, and then I make another X through it, and it becomes like a star burst, or like a little, I think those are really wonderful little motifs and really easy to do. And I think I need to shake this pen out a little more. It's not very opaque right now, and it might be because it needs to be shaken. So I'll go ahead and do the same thing. Yep, much better. So I've got my little stars going through all of the little blobs. And these little stars are 1, 2, 3, 4 lines is all you're doing. And I think those are really fun to give focus to an area that may be just a little, blobby or not focused. Simple. I don't know if you can see those. Maybe I can zoom that up a little for you. Here you go. So I'm just making 1, 2, 3, 4, just little stars through this. Some of them are bigger because I'm noticing I'd like to kind of have it go into the black area. I'm going to change the sizes a little. Oops, now I have a big blob, but that's kind of cool. I think I might want to do more of those. So sometimes an accident can actually be a blessing because you can make something, I like that. I like the little white, very nice bright white areas. I'll just add those later, but that's how if you get a blob, something that you didn't intend, then you can just make it like you did. And that's going to be a fun piece of collage. This would be fun for collage, just tearing out pieces of it and using it in something else. It also could be a piece of gift wrap. If you were to do this on large papers, like some butcher paper or something that you have, this kind of thing would look beautiful as gift wrap because it's one of a kind. Nobody else has it. And it's something that you've made. So these little star patterns I like to do on that other piece that I'm waiting to dry. You can practice. This is how you can practice your marks. and whatever ones you want to try. Lines, squiggly lines. It's hard to draw a straight line, wouldn't even try, but there you go. I'm just going to try cover all those till it's covered. And then I'm going to do those blobs of white that I accidentally, maybe I can just do it by spattering. And that's another thing. You can spatter if you have, I'm just going to make them like I meant them. You can make spatters with your watercolors or your paints. Just spatter all over the page, and that will add to the pattern as well, or to the design. I'm just throwing a few of those around to make it. There we go. Now I've got enough dots in there. So now I've got a fun little galaxy thing going on. And there's another thing I was going to try with this. I'm going to let that dry though. I think I want to add color to it. And from what I've heard is I've heard that when you add color to the back of rice paper, and this is going to be the first time I'm doing it, so I'm just going to do it with you. I'm going to experiment with you. I'm going to just pull this out a little so you can see. Now I'm going to add a color, and I think it's looking for a pink or a red or something, or could do an orange, but just going to add some color, and I'm just going to grab a brush, and I'm going to take this other set that I got, a little $20 one that I got off of Amazon. I'm going to put some orange. I think that's pretty, this pretty color. And I'm going to get it really super saturated. And I'm going to do the back side. So I'm going to see what happens when I turn it over. It could be a mess, but we'll see. Yes, see how that white, how the white is, or those stars are really popping. Could have been blue and it would have been more galaxy-like, but that's fine. I'll add a little more color could put it on the top. Let's see what happens when I put it on the top. Everything still resists, which is nice, so covers up some of it, but there we go. So you can see how that changed that completely. I'll have to set that aside. And now it's almost there. I really like it just like this, but I'm going to add that little sparkle that I just love sparkle. So I've got a little silver marker, or white marker would look good, but I think silver would be fun. And I'm just going to add some maybe larger, I'm going to do a little larger stars. I'm going to go right through like here. So now on each of these, what they used to look like raindrops, but they're not anymore. They're just shapes, little blue shapes. I'm adding that star. Just lay, that'll be the final, I think that should be the final layer. And I could go on and on and on with this, but that's how it's addictive, actually. And the more layers I add, the more interesting it is. I think that's the trick, is just to keep adding layers. And that's how these were done, just layer after layer after layer. And you get finally to this place where it's really lovely. Now, this one I got so dark, and I just started to lighten it with the gold to get some more color, or to make it not so dark. You can also do repetitive patterns like leaves, which I don't think I showed you this one, but here's one where I think we've done this before, but we start out with a line and then we make little marks to make the leaf shapes or the little buds. These are things that you can do and just have fun practicing making them.